Hi guys, I'm back today with a video in what seems like the first time in forever. I am so happy to be filming and to be even just playing in some makeup finally. I woke up having a decent day, so the first thing I ran to do was try a bunch of different things. And the thing I'm going to talk about in this video is the Luster Charm palette from Alter Ego. Now, it's weird that this is called Luster Charm because on the box it just says Luster, but then on the palette it says Luster Charm. I find that to be very strange. That's just kind of an inconsistency that I noticed. But let's talk about this box. Like, oh, this is like, actually, oh darn, wait, yes, I can show you. Okay, so my phone case kind of reminds me of this. I really like this aesthetic. I think that they did a great job with this packaging. It is like, this is supposed to be a dupe of a Pat McGrath palette, so I'm sure that they really wanted the packaging to be beautiful, even though it could not be bougie. So I think they did a really good job. I love the colors that are in this. It is just, if they could make this bigger, I would hang it on my wall. That sounds ridiculous, but I would totally do it. Now, this palette is a lot less than a Pat McGrath palette. This is only $22, and you can use a coupon code. I used Porcelain at my checkout. I like her. I think she does good videos, so I just put that in to save some money. And then the palette that I'm going to be comparing it to is the much beloved Pat McGrath. This is the Divine Rose 1 palette. Seriously, this is one of my absolute favorite palettes that she ever put out. However, this is $129 and this is $22. So there's that. Now, the packaging on this is like to the extreme, the most bougie and beautiful that you could probably ever find. It has this beautiful like little, I don't know what you would, drawstring opening. And I just think that she does it right. When she does packaging, she does it right every single time, almost. So now let's get to the actual packaging of each of these. The outside of the Luster Charm looks just like the box. Really nice thick cardboard, just like the rest of the Alter Ego palettes. But this actually almost feels like a little bit thicker than their normal. I don't know why. It could just be in my mind because I'm like, oh. But here we are, that's fine. In any case, this is what the inside looks like. And as you can see here, it says Luster Charm, which is, again, very strange that it doesn't just say it on the outside, but this is what the palette looks like. It is very similar, or maybe the same, you'll have to be the judge, as the Pat McGrath Divine Rose 1 palette. So I am trying to move it around so you can see shifts. Now I will say this, when I compare these two together, opened up side by side, the shifts in this are far less apparent. So I'm just gonna let you guys be the judge. So I'm gonna set this to the side, show you guys the Pat McGrath palette. Now obviously this packaging, I mean, like, okay, you can't feel this, but let me just compare it like this. This is the weight of a brick. This is the weight of like a very thin book. If I needed to club somebody with this, I could, no problem, and it would knock them out. That's awful. I don't condone violence, if we're just being honest here. But in any case, it is very luxurious. It does get fingerprinty, so I dislike that about her products. But the inside is like a very nice beveled mirror, and then you've got the lovely colors in my ever trash desk area. I know it's like ridiculous. Let's not talk about it. Let's not acknowledge it, actually. So here, as I said before, you can definitely see the shifts and things a lot more easily, in my opinion. So I'm gonna definitely swatch both of these side by side so you can see them that way, but then you'll get to see them on my eyes. Now, I want to ask you guys a question right now before the video even starts. Which eye has Pat McGrath Divine Rose 1, and which eye is the Alter Ego Luster Charm palette? So, what do you guys think? Now, ignore my eyeliner. It got away from me, as it tends to do, because that's kind of how I roll. I'm gonna close my eyes a little bit. Move my head, probably look really weird on this video. I might get closer because I'm feeling real good about my skin today. Like, my skin itself is trash like it normally is, but this foundation that I used today, I'm into it. I'm really into it. Although right now it's not videoing the best, but I swear it looks really good in real life. I'm for it. In any case, so you guys tell me, and I will just tell you now, since you're about to watch or if you do decide to watch it, this is Pat McGrath, this one is Luster Charm. So, did you get it right? Let me know down below. I want to know. So in any case, if you are interested in seeing swatches of both of these side by side, and you want to see this eye look that I did, keep watching. Okay, so I have just woken my husband up from a nap. I actually feel really bad about it. He fell asleep with the lights on, which is very unusual for him. So, I have two important questions for you. One, which eye do you think is the dupe palette, and which one do you think is the expensive Pat McGrath palette?
Oh boy. Turn your head to the left.
I went to the right. I'm my mother. Oh my gosh.
And the right.
I still went the other way.
I'm gonna say Pat McGrath would be this eye. Your right eye. There you go.
Okay. And he actually, this is the first time you've ever gotten it wrong. Pat Mcgrath is on this eye right here.
I'll take it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first shade in the Luster Charm palette is called Crystal. And that is a white to pink highlight shade. It is extremely dry to the touch. This is the corresponding shade in the Pat Mcgrath palette. Now, this is also white to pink, but this is almost more of a white to pinkish red shade in the Pat Mcgrath palette, which I don't know if I can capture for you guys. And I would say that the texture of the Pat Mcgrath is a lot softer and easier to use. It's called Spectral. And that is a beautiful light champagne, kind of a satiny shade. Corresponding shade in the Pat Mcgrath palette. This is definitely lighter, in my opinion, than the one in the Alter Ego palette. And use far less if you get the Pat Mcgrath one. I had so much left over, and it was just, like, way too much. Luster Charm is called Opaque. And that's kind of a reddish-brown shade. Slight hint of rose to it as well. Kind of a satin. This is the corresponding shade in the Pat Mcgrath palette. These are similar, but I feel like the Pat Mcgrath one is slightly more pink toned. Next one is called Sacred. And that is a beautiful, like, goldish champagne, really textured kind of metallic shade. Here's the one from Pat Mcgrath. And this is definitely more white toned than gold. Textures are very, very similar. I would say the Pat Mcgrath one is slightly less, like, noticeably chunky. The shade is called Infinite. And that is a beautiful kind of orangey brown shade. The one from Pat Mcgrath. These two are probably the most similar in my opinion. The next shade is called Radiant, and this one is so beautiful. I'm hoping I can catch, like, all the flips. And that is, like, a very, like, hot pink with orange and gold kind of flip to it. It is so beautiful. The Pat Mcgrath shade. So already very, very different, and the Pat Mcgrath one... Okay, here's the thing. This is gorgeous, but the Pat Mcgrath one is so stunningly different. Like, right now, I'm seeing, like, a pink to gold with a hint of green. And you guys are seeing, like, a pinky orange shade, but there's so much more to it. That is the shade that when I put it on my eyes, I really felt you could tell a huge difference between the two palettes with. I'm not sure if it'll make a difference on what you can see. Here it is on my finger. Shade Mystic. And that is a beautiful mauve shade. Here is the shade from Pat Mcgrath. So this one is pretty different in my mind. This is more of a gray toned mauve than the other. This is the shade Spell. And that's kind of like an orangey gold shade. This is the shade in the Divine Rose palette, and Pat Mcgrath just does golds well. It is so beautiful and vibrant. Okay, that this is more of a yellow gold than the one next to it. This is the shade Magnifique. And that's kind of a taupey brown shade. It is so beautiful. I would almost say that this one's more of a purpley brown. It is beautiful. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put the last shades up here because I started too far down. This is the shade Rare. And that is a gorgeous rusty brownish red shade. Corresponding shade in the Pat Mcgrath palette. So this one is definitely more of a brown shade rather than a rusty shade. It is still a red toned brown, but not the same. That is a comparison of both the palettes. Okay, I am back and I want to give you guys my final thoughts on everything. First thing is first, I definitely think for $22, the Alter Ego palette, the Luster Charm palette, you cannot go wrong. It is so beautiful. It definitely works really nicely. And in my opinion, I actually think it looks maybe slightly better on the eye. Just slightly better. I mean, the finish is not quite the same as Pat McGrath in my opinion, but I mean, I think the overall payoff is gorgeous. So if you really wanted the Divine Rose 1 palette, but you could not justify the price, which I completely understand because that's like an electricity bill, then this is definitely a great option for you. The other thing I will note is that the shipping is fantastic. Alter Ego ships stuff so fast, it's not even funny. Like, I think I got this like 2 days after the launch, which is really good. And I will also say this is the first time my husband did not pick the right eye. So even if you're a Pat McGrath fan, you kind of got to go, is it maybe worth the price? I love Pat McGrath. I love her packaging. I will continue to support her. Unless it's another palette that comes out looking like this. No offense, just because I am really tired of this color story from her specifically. She's already released as many as I want to buy in this color story. So hopefully she's going to do some greens. Hopefully she'll do some oranges. Hopefully she'll do some purples. I would be for that. That's all I'm saying. But we're not talking about her today. I'm sorry. I got away with myself. But the Luster Charm palette I think is 100% worth every penny. It is beautiful. The shipping is great. If you have not given them a shot, I definitely think you should. My eyes are extremely sensitive. I have never had a problem with their products. So I do hope that this video was helpful to you guys. If it was, make sure you leave a comment down below, like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for future updates, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.